Nehusi, a guest on the Alliance for Change's program, with host attorney at law Nigel Hughes, weighed in on Guyana's current ethnic relations geopolitically. The historian and political scholar opined that race politics was generated following the expulsion of Herbs Burnham from the People's Progressive Party in 1955. Research shows that the major consequences of the PNC and PPP split were the witnessing of racial voting, termed Apanjat, as well as demands for partitioning of the country.
Burnham and Jagan found it easy, and this began with Dr. Jagan, to rely on race as a mobilizing factor for politics.
Yes.
And the decision to rely on race, especially after 1955 when Burnham was expelled from the party, suggests to me that the Jagans, and Mrs. Jagan Janet was involved in this, were looking for an easy way to get votes.
The issue of improving ethnic relations between Guyana's main ethnic groups, Afro and Indo-Guyanese, remains a Herculean task for politicians currently, Nehusi lamented. Given credit where it is due, though Jagan and Burnham lobbied for economic sustainability and procurement, the historian proffered that ethnic voting should not have been the deterrent in social relations between Afro and Indo-Guyanese.
They both paid respects and that kind of thing, but we're talking about something far deeper. We need to know more about ourselves and about each other.
Nehusi doomed that an Indian Guyanese government without African Guyanese participation is doomed to failure, and vice versa. Attorney at law Nigel Hughes noted that Guyanese existed under the government which demonstrated racial biases post-independence. He lamented that discrimination and divisiveness is still extant in society.
What is failure? The reality is that we have continued to live with racial governments since independence, or people who have always felt excluded. After 28 years, and this was a couple of years ago, 28 years of PNC rule and 22 years of PPP rule since independence, the majority of Guyanese now appear resolved that an East Indian government that excludes the majority of African people is as objectionable as an African government that excludes the majority of East Indian Guyanese. That's a fact. But you spoke just now about failure. Where's the failure? There's no failure.
He was quoting an article Nehusi wrote several years ago on ethnic voting. This was Nehusi's response.
If you do not develop relatively equally all your people, you impoverish people to such an extent, you're making them prey to the highest bidder. The politics of the belly become important. If you impoverish communities, you're encouraging crime. Let's be honest.
The historian lambasted the government for allegedly improving East Indian communities and neglecting predominant Afro-Guyanese communities. Antonio Day reporting for the HEP 90 News.